Hello and welcome back to Dial H for Heroclix. I'm your sexy ranch hand co-host Kalder and Simeon. This is episode 282. Howdy, howdy, let's get rowdy.
My stuff.
Dial H for Heroclix is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, including all the latest Heroclix singles and sealed products. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com. Episode's coming in a little late this week as I had to get back from Roctober. And of course, joining me this week is my co-host, Simeon Bruce.
Yeah, one of us got stuck behind.
You got left behind, like one of my favorite movies to watch on an airplane.
That is a horrifying movie to watch on an airplane.
Oh, no, for sure.
I'm pretty sure there's like multiple airplane crashes in that movie.
Is there multiple? Probably.
I don't know.
But like Nicolas Cage really pulled it off. But that's not what this podcast is about. Man, what can you imagine? There probably is a Nicolas Cage movie podcast. I'd imagine there has to be. But this podcast is about Heroclix. Before we dive into that, though, we're going to talk about what made us happy this week. Simeon Bruce, give it to me.
This week, what made me happy was going to a spooky haunted house and a haunted hayrack ride to go along with it. So, if you've never been on a haunted hayrack ride or a regular hayrack ride, you just like ride in a trailer on a bale of hay or some other like seat that's uncomfortable, and you're pulled by like a tractor or a truck maybe. But this one was cool. They do a really good job. I was pulled by a tractor in this trailer, and they've got all these animatronics set up. So there's like this big, like 12-foot tall Krampus, and he pops out of this wall, and he's holding a child by the leg, and the kid starts like kicking and screaming, and Krampus is like, oh, 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 oh. So that's my favorite one every year.
That's pretty wild.
I've seen it multiple years, but that's always my favorite.
It's like, Krampus, you always get me, you silly. Why'd you say? Wait, you said it was a what ride?
Hayrack.
Why'd you say hayrack?
I don't know. What do you call it?
Hayride. I don't know where the rack is coming from.
Oh, I don't know. Because there's a rack. That's how you limber up. You get stretched on the rack.
Okay. I know. We always just called it a hayride. Like, I was like, you called it a hayrack ride. Is it different? It's like, no, there's a trailer. There's hay bales in it. And they just pull by a tractor and just go along. Like, no, that's exactly a hayride. But he's really throwing me for a loop, this guy. But all right. That sounds awesome, though. I enjoy hayrides and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. What made me happy this week was after about 6 months of waiting, I finally got my first appearance, Guy Gardner, Green Lantern 68. I want to say it's 68. I finally got it back from CGC grading, so I now have one of the few key issue books that I want to own. One of my all-time favorite characters, Guy Gardner, have his first appearance. It was very cool. It's also a really cool cover. So I was just very happy to finally get that back. When you like spend $200 on a comic book and then spend another $70 like handing it to CGC and like not seeing it for like 5-6 months, you kind of get a little antsy. You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty happy that it finally showed up, and that was great. It's going to be a great, I want to say shelf piece, but it's going to be a great closet piece because it's got to have low lighting to keep the book in good condition still. That's the worst part about these is you have to, you can't just totally show them off. You have to like minorly show them off where they're like in your closet and like you can open it.
Yeah.
They're still just shadowy, but it's like, hey, check it out.
That was actually working for CGC was like one of my dream jobs growing up. And then I realized like how awful that truly would be. You have to be like very detail oriented, and you have to just have to open the next page with like, you know, sterile gloves and like forceps and
it
like
makes me wonder,
like all the corners.
I buy most of my books in good condition, and the highest I still have is, well, I have like 2 is 7 is 7.0. Guy Gardner is 5.5, and I'm like, that book is in what I think great condition, but I don't know if this dude's like eating Cheetos on the job and he's just like, oh, drop some Cheetos, that brings it down, or whatever. or maybe it's just I don't know, like any minor crease in whatever page. I really want to know how meticulous these guys are. As to me, I would like pick up almost any comic book, whether it be at like a garage sale or whatever, and I'd be like, its corner isn't ripped, so it's in pretty solid condition. I'd say that looks great, you know. But it's got to be white pages. They go into it a lot. And for people that don't read comics, I think this is kind of boring. So instead, we have so much to talk about this week, we're going to jump right into the news. There's literally a crazy amount of news that happened this week. We're going to talk about something that's more fun. We're going to just kind of go back and forth between kind of fun news and then kind of wacky news, like what's Heroclix doing? One of the first things that happened this week, or last week, was the Xavier Woods, / real name, Austin Creed, and Tyler Breeze playing WWE Heroclix. They did a 10-minute video of them drafting their figures, which was awesome, and then they did about an hour-long video of them playing Heroclix. I watched both. I was very excited to see it. And then like afterwards, I kind of went and looked at the Up Up Down Down channel. There was a room tour that Austin did, and that was really cool. So Simeon, just to get right into it, do you watch a little bit of wrestling? Not a lot currently. So were you excited to see Xavier Woods and Prince Pretty play WWE Heroclix?
Oh yeah. I mean, I know who New Day is, or the New Day is. I haven't followed them like super closely, but that was like my biggest hope for this set being dropped, was that we would get some WWE dudes talking about it and like getting excited about it. And they did a really good job of actually enjoying the game, and actually, like, you know, they must have actually spent 2 hours or more reading on
learning it,
what the powers and stuff did, at least.
It was like just, I don't want to like waste a ton of time talking about it, and I don't even think it's waste. It was really cool seeing something that we're like all of us are so incredibly nerdy about, and we've only seen one guy, and like that's Scott Porter. And I don't see Scott Porter every week on, no offense, Scott Porter, you might be in a TV show right now, and I'm making myself look really bad, but I don't see Scott Porter every week. So in my mind, Scott Porter is more the Heroclix guy than he is Racer X from one of two movies I know from. I'm so sorry, I feel like a terrible person saying this, but like, you know. But Xavier Woods, I see him basically every week, every other week on SmackDown or Monday Night Raw. I can't remember where they ended up, but either way, there's a lot of crossing over anyways nowadays. So like, and besides that, he's probably my favorite member of New Day. I think he's literally like the mix between Kofi and Big E, like everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's like he's literally just like the in between, and he's great on the mic. He's a great wrestler. I really enjoyed New Day, so it was awesome. And they're all big nerds, which is so cool. So I think this is probably the best person they had to get onto it. I was honestly, my money was on Kurt Hawkins, because he does a wrestling action figure podcast, and I really enjoy watching them go toy hunting on their YouTube channel. I was like, my money was honestly thinking about like Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder doing a Heroclix thing, but it ended up being Xavier Woods and Tyler Breeze, which is really cool. Did you know who Tyler Breeze was before this?
What did he wrestle under?
So they apparently said this is Prince Pretty. I thought he was always just called Tyler Breeze though, because he had, if I'm remembering this correctly, a selfie stick and a pink. Is it a boa? Is that the flower, or like the flowery neck thing? Yeah. I think they called him
remember
Tyler
him,
Pretty, aka like Prince Pretty. And I remember thinking that was the most ridiculous gimmick in the world to give to someone.
I mean, so was Shawn Michaels' gimmick, but I mean,
Sexy
he pulled
boy.
it off. I do remember him, but not like, I don't think he ever got put over like really well.
Oh, Tyler Breeze? No, he didn't at all, which is just a total shame, because I thought he was hilarious. I honestly I thought he was really funny, but it was a very, I don't want to say dated gimmick, but like it had something just so around like him being some kind of social media guy, which is with how much he had his phone and like the selfie stick and everything. It felt too focused on technology. and it was so weird. It's such a weird gimmick that they gave him, but he was an alright guy. And watching them play Heroclix was so crazy cool and eye-opening to someone who just like used to it. And number one, they did a great job. So whoever taught him how to play, fantastic job, because they did. I don't think they totally messed up any. I don't think they totally butchered any abilities. Like, I think they did a really good job about doing that. I don't think they totally missed anything. Like, they threw Tyler Breeze, even like not Tyler Breeze, but Austin threw an object, and I was like, man, see, he's like, they explained objects pretty well. He's throwing it, he's chucking it. He's got the big guy trait down. I think the only thing that was a little weird was Tyler outwitted the Oscar lock ability and not, I can't remember if it's Oscar lock.
Submission hold.
Yeah, not submission hold. Like, obviously, you kind of know what he meant, and they didn't want to totally rules lawyer it the entire time because they wanted it to be very genuine. But he outwitted like a trait that worked off of submission hold, which basically you can say, like, I've seen people, outwit whatever. When Unimind drops Power Cosmic and he does whatever, he's like, I'll outwit that trait, basically, when they mean I'm going to outwit your Perplex. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's basically what people are doing when they do something like that. They're outwitting that trait. So that wasn't too bad. You could tell that there was, of course, someone there, whether it was any of the amazing WizKids judges or whoever it may have been. But, like, there's one where it's like they make it really obvious, like rules lawyered, and then they make one where it's like not totally obvious, where they're kind of like, and they kind of like, and they look and they're like, it's the other way, or like whatever. But either way, I think that's really big. I think it's huge. I hope people watch that and get into WWE. And number one, I hope normal Heroclix players watch it and just see how easy it is to play the game for new players. For new people to get into the game. So I think that's awesome. Number two, I hope WWE fans watch it and realize how awesome Heroclix is and that they want to play a little Jonathan Cena on the board. And I hope they go out and hopefully that game store bought it, because if not, it's be like, nah, our player base really didn't want any WWE, so we can like special order it if you want to, or you just go to coolstuffing.com and get all your latest Heroclix singles and seal products. That sounds cool, dude. And either way, I hope this does get a lot of new people into the game. I really do. Any last words on the video? We probably already talked about it too much. Sorry, Xavier.
No, it was edited really well. If you guys have any time to kill, if you have time to kill, it's fun to like watch. So I wouldn't like go out of your way to watch it. It's not going to be like informative for you.
It's
but
not.
It is
I would go
fun.
out of your way because it shows you how you're supposed to play WWE. The official WWE action tokens are the terrain markers that come in the starter set. This is how I played in the Roctober WWE two-person event. Those are my action tokens, because that's good enough for Xavier Woods and Tyler Breeze, and it's good enough for Calder Ness. The dice you use are the terrible tiny white dice. All right, those are the dice you use. When you roll for attacks, you roll 1d6 at a time. Because if it's good enough for Tyler Breeze, it's good enough for me, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why I started doing that halfway through, but I thought it was hilarious. Like, I need to roll 5 to hit, and he like rolled a 5 on one dice, and he's like, I don't even have to roll the other one. I'm like, wow, weird flex, but okay, Tyler. Doesn't even need to roll both dice. I kind of want to do. I mean, you shouldn't do that at a tournament. But I kind of want to be like, I got to roll 5. Roll 5. I shouldn't even bother rolling the other dice. Like, dang, dude. I cut steep, dude. Cut steep. So, yeah. It was an awesome video. I encourage people to definitely play WWE that way, because none of my opponents got it. Apparently, I was the only one that watched that video. But now, you guys do it, and you do it at your home venues. And when you play WWE, if you play WWE, play it that way. And then they still won't get it, because they don't listen to the podcast.
Officially endorsed.
Officially
WWE
endorsed. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the watch list. It got finalized this week. Simeon, what were the changes made to the amazing 4 contestants that were Vulture, Green Proteus, Traitor, forgot the last person. Was it Kobik? Gardner, that's what it was.
No, much worse than Kobik. Gardner. You know, the guy with the hindering terrain. So the watch list came down. They watched. They did stuff. No changes were made to Prime Vulture. He will continue doing what he does as long as you want for now. No changes were made to Gardner. So he can still make free close attacks through his hindering markers. He can still use hindering markers from other game effects other than just his powers. So those two, unchanged. The two that did get hit were the rare traitor from Avengers Black Panther Illuminati. That one got changed to... So instead of free, choose an equipped character, friendly or opposing, within 3 squares in line of fire. If traitor is equipped, and both equipment have equip any, those equipment are now equipped to the other character. That got changed to free. Once per turn, for all characters with this power, choose an equipped character, friendly or opposing, within 3 in line of fire. If traitor is equipped and both equipment have equip any, those equipments are now equipped to the other character. So basically, if you play more than one traitor, you can't flip-flop something with 2 traitors. It basically made him unique for all intensive purposes.
Sure.
And so, what do you think about that one?
We're probably going to go into it a little bit. I don't think this affects Traitor Kobik at all. It affects Mass Traitor when they totally are throwing stuff around. But for Kobik Traitor to pop off and work, you only need those 2. I prefer that entire strategy just not working, to be honest, because I don't. People are gonna hate this, but I don't think that if I play 2 figures, I should instantaneously win the game against one of your figures. I still think sitting down at a match where I play a full die Unimind, which would never happen in any universe, and you play Kobik Traitor, just means that I lose that game. That really sucks. And that's a very specific problem. I get that. But it sucks. Like, it's just like, oh, just because you decided to play that and I play this, you literally instantaneously lose. How is that, in that odd sense, different than someone playing Felix Faust with Greed and the Omega Drive and outwitting the whatever, and as soon as I get you within 7 squares of my Felix Faust Greed Omega Drive, I can every single turn choose whatever, and then you just instantly lose. You know?
Because Calder just don't play one-man armies.
I mean, I would. You're not wrong, but I still think that.
I just love that excuse.
Oh, it's terrible. Because I should be able to play whatever I want.
Don't make 300-point figures, whiz kids, and then make your main format 300 modern. Don't make 300-point figures if you have counters that just completely shut them down and absolutely decimate them to the point where they just can't do anything.
Absolutely. So we're going to go into, thanks to Malcolm Marsh questions this week, we're going to go more into both this watch list and watch lists of watch list past. I said watch list way too many times in that sentence.
Yesteryear.
So I think you have yesteryear. So if you have any last words about the watch list.
The other change was to the green Proteus, the rare Proteus.
Oh, yeah. That one.
So his also became kind of a unique thing. So the change to him, of course, the thing that made him busted was whenever a character within range is given a costed action after resolutions, you may generate a blocking, hindering, obscuring, or water terrain marker within 3 squares of that character, but not in their square. At the beginning of your turn, remove all terrain markers generated by Proteus. So why this was broken was because you could play 5 Proteuses with this trait for 50 points, and you could have one person that was within the 5 range of them move up 10 squares, end their movement, and then you could place 5 hindering markers within 3 of that person. They don't even have to be line of fire, just within 3. So if you could do that with one action, then you could imagine how many you could do with 4 or 5 actions. So that's what his trait used to be. What it got changed to was once per action for all characters with this trait. Whenever a standard character within range is given a costed action, after resolutions you may generate a blocking, hindering, obscuring, or water terrain marker within 3 squares of that character, but not in their square. So it's all the same after that. But the main part that changed is once per action for all characters with this trait. That means where you could have 5 Proteuses and you give 1 power action, you now have once per action for all characters with this trait whenever a standard character within range is given a costed action after resolutions. So basically you get, from what I'm reading, and I might be wrong, but from what I'm reading, if you played 5 Proteuses and you had one person move within the range of those 5 Proteuses, you would only get to place 1 blocking marker for that one person. They also made it a standard character, so you can't do it with bystanders. You can't like have Starro fights who are autonomous, like all move.
And then you'd be able to place like up to 7 or so in a turn, right? So this basically makes the max you can place 4 at any point in time, which is still helpful if you want to move around and give yourself a little free barrier, a little protection, you know, if you're staying kind of back. Like that's
1 Proteus is still really good.
Still viable, and like he's still fine, you know. I played against a Vulture team this weekend that used that perfectly. It was like a crazy, incredibly amazing. So it was great. So I think this is fine. Instead of, because he was a 10-point character, and that's pretty gnarly. Just being able to do that. And does it specify costed action or just action? I assume it would obviously not be with any free actions. That would just be ridiculous.
Yeah, it just says given a costed action. Action.
Okay, cool.
It does have to be something, but it can be move, it can be an attack, it can be, like hypersonic.
But still, the most you can place is 4 in a 300-point game.
Well, you could do 5 if you've got somebody that gives you like another plus action
total. Yeah,
total.
Like a Power Woman or something. So yeah, Power Woman leadership, the most you can place is like 5 in a turn, which isn't too bad. It's better than the having a million Protei and then placing just a ton, on the map. So that's cool. Not too shabby, I would say, and that was the old watch list. This week, WizKids posted a design insight, visible dials revisited. Do you just want to take turns reading like paragraphs and then kind of discussing them? Or how should we do this?
So we decided that we're going to read off exactly what they said and then just kind of discuss it as we go.
We could just go into it, but there would be so much conjecture.
I'm going to try my hardest to play a little bit of devil's advocate with this, because when I first saw this, I was on the fence and I was thinking, this isn't too bad. Like, I don't mind it. I even can see like, some benefits. And then after talking to like literally all the new players that I know, which is like quite a few, and like polling them, I don't think anyone that actually like cares about like fostering this game would like this. But let's just get into it and we'll see. I'll start us off here. Dear Heroclix players, back in 2016, we described our plan for placing the Heroclix dial information on the front of the character card and allowing it to be visible to all players. This caused a lot of concern in the Clix community, and ultimately, we made a less dramatic change to Heroclix cards, one where we'd put the dial on the back so the controlling player could have view of their own dials. With WWE Heroclix on the horizon, adding new standard powers to the PAC and hopefully an influx of new players into our game, we reinvestigated the benefits of all players being able to view the combat dial on each figure. So, basically, back in 2016, they tried to put the dial on the front of the card. A lot of people didn't like it, to the point where they decided to not do that and put it on the back of the card.
Oh, there was an outcry. It was pretty bad. It was that Uncanny X-Men Wolverine or whatever, right? And the set still had normal cards at that point. And that was the first version of this card they showed. And I remember people going crazy about the dial being on the front, but nothing else about, number one, how I still hate the layout of cards. Sorry, it still hasn't changed. I still prefer the old layout. And anyone who is just like, clearly the new layout is superior in every way. Even if it is, I'm a sucker for nostalgia. So, number one, that. Number two, I switched it to the back, which I think satisfied mostly everyone, I want to say. Like, I don't think anyone totally had a problem with it being on the back.
There was a few people, because one of the big like complaints that was just like, it was topical at the time, was Grandmaster, like one of the LEs from the Age of Ultron, I think, storyline or something like that. came out with like Graviton and High Evolutionary
Yeah.
those guys. He had a trait where it was like your opponent, you chose like an opposing character, and your opponent had to guess what the stats on their next click were. And if they got like 2 out of the 4 right, so like they'd take a click of damage. If they got 2 out of the 4 right, I think they got to heal back. And if they got like 3 out of 4 right, then they got to heal like 1 extra. And if they didn't get any right, then they took like an extra damage or something. And this literally came out like months after that figure, and people are like, he is now unplayable. I was like, he was very unplayable before then.
I think all of those LEs were not great. I want to say
That-
Graviton
yeah,
was
he
pretty
was-
terrible. Like a lot of them were bad.
He was fine for casual, but like you were gonna house rule that for him no matter what, because you were never taking him to like a tournament.
Oh, no.
But it was just kind of silly. And I remember this is about the point when they first announced this. This was about the point when I took like a hiatus from the game.
Okay.
Not because of that specifically. I was moving, and so I put all my clicks into storage, and I just didn't get them out until like a few years after I had moved. So it just happened to be around this time. But I was happy when I got back that the cards weren't, or the dials weren't on the front of the card. So yeah, I just love that they say back in 2016 we like said this, people hated it, so we decided to like opt for a different option. But hey, here it is again,
right?
And now you're stuck with it. Like,
so
I like that they put it on the back burner and appeased us for 3 or 4 years, only to be like, and that's how it's going to be, though.
So I guess this kind of brings up one thing, where the initial people not liking the dials on the back of the cards. For some reason, this is coming back up, and it makes no sense to me that people are bringing this up again. They're saying, why do we even need figures now if we can look at the dial? Where I'm like, well, back in 2016, that might have been a relevant argument, but it makes no sense nowadays. Like, we still need a dial, to look at our figures. The only reason it's being brought up is now everybody can look at the card, so literally no one needs a dial. You could still do the same thing, just like you could have done it back then. And anytime they ask, just like in Roll20, if you just ask your opponent, all right, what are their stats? Then boom, there it is. Now, I hated the dial being on the card at all, because to me that made it feel like figures were starting to become obsolete. I don't think they'll ever be obsolete in this entire game. I don't think they will at all, because it's a miniatures game. That's the whole shtick, the whole market of it. It's the reason I like the game. But it felt too Heroscape for me, where it's like my figure is basically just a miniature, and it doesn't really matter that it clicks at all, because I just look at the dial. Like, that's exactly what Heroscape is. And at some point do we need a clicking dial? Because in Heroscape, if people don't know, it's just a miniature. Then you have this stat card, which they probably made stat cards, if you've ever seen Heroscape cards, the literal worst way to make a card in any game ever. They were this ridiculous shape. But just look up Heroscape cards and you'll understand what I'm saying. And you just put little tokens, damage tokens, and each character had a life, which is basically the number of clicks they could take before they died. Captain America had, let's just say 7. And once he had 8 damage beads, he died, But his stats stayed the same throughout the entire thing. His powers always stayed the same. And that's what made Heroscape boring, because nothing happened. What makes Heroclix interesting is that we get to see if a character gets stronger as they take damage, like a Hulk figure, Hulk or Wolverine get angrier, whatever. Or if they just get weaker as they take damage, just like any other character. Iron Man's armor depleting, Batman is getting tired of running around in tights or whatever. Like, that's what makes Heroclix interesting, is the stat changes. And before I get too much into that, I can just read the next part if we're mostly done with the 2016 recap, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. As you may have heard us communicate at shows like Origins, WizKids World Championships, or Alliance Open House, one of our goals with products like WWE or the Orville is that we attract people who aren't already playing Heroclix. We know that many locations in the Heroclix community do a great job socially of welcoming to these people. That's kind of a weird sentence structure there. And we're sincerely appreciative of that. We believe that making the game easier to enjoy and understand is an important part of what we as a company can do to support players and retailers who are getting Heroclix newbies up to speed as invested players. Visible dials are a part of that. Starting November 6, 2019, 2 weeks after the official North American release for the WWE Heroclix, the Heroclix tournament rules section about character cards with visible dials will be amended to say the following. I'll just read this really quick. Character cards with visible dials. A player may ask to view another player's card at any time. Players should not spend an excessive amount of time reviewing character cards. So let's get into it. This is the main huff puff, everything that's happening. The bah humbug.
I love that they say, yeah. So they say, we believe making the game easier to enjoy and understand is an important part of what we as a company can do to support players and retailers who are getting Heroclix newbies up to speed. Because WizKids absolutely doesn't do anything other than like giving Tabletop Teacher some free stuff. They do absolutely nothing to help new players whatsoever. Like release, like 3 starters a year, maybe, if you're lucky. And like 2 of those might have rules in them. But like the Sidekick Night thing, that was cool. Except that you gave them obsolete figures, like with cool sculpts, but like figures that they couldn't even play casually, because if they did, they'd just get crushed. It's like, it's cool that you didn't give them any traits or special powers, so they're easy to learn, but then you costed them at 100 points for something you'd never cost at 100 points in a main set. You just cost them at 100 points to make them like easy to make into a team. So like, rather than fixing stuff like that and like making, like your comprehensive rulebook and your normal rulebook and your new 2 packs that you have, rather than combining these into like an easier, more accessible format, so I don't have to have 3 things on my phone to look at and then like 1 physical copy because they haven't released the digital version of the 2019 rules or whatever. Rather than fixing that so that you only have to have 1 booklet or like 2 at max, you think that adding the ability to check the player's card, another player's card at any time, is going to like help with, I just don't get, because they talk about accessibility and they talk about helping new players, and then they bring up something that literally does nothing for new players. Like, I've never once taught somebody this game and they said like, this would be so much easier if I knew your dial.
The only people that I've noticed that absolutely 100% care exactly how many clicks your figure is in a competitive game format. Not in a new style format. They might want to know what your abilities are and what you can do, sure, and like in a just teaching a new player, but never once have I been like, has a player said to me while I'm trying to teach him play, man, I wish I knew exactly how long his dial was. That would just make it like better. Like that just doesn't seem like a big issue. And like, Calder, what do you know about teaching people how to play? Well, one day I just did it for like 5 hours at a convention, so I know a little bit on trying to get people in the game, and I try to teach as many people as I possibly can how to play in just random conversations. It'll just be like, hey, what do you do for fun? I play Heroclix. Do you want to learn how to play? We got like 3 hours. Let's do it. I got Heroclix in my car. It just hasn't come up. Like, that's not exactly what they're constantly thinking about. In a competitive format, I am always constantly thinking about like, I was pretty sure, mine's got 5 clicks at 150, but man, what if he has like 6 or something, Like, that's the only time I think I've ever really thought of dial length before.
Yeah. And if this isn't about, like brand new players, if this is about like people that are new to the competitive scene, I polled a lot of people. Like I went and like asked everyone that I knew from my local venues that has been playing for less than a year and has played at like a WKO, and I asked as many people online that like I knew were newer and play like competitively what they thought, and the response was like mostly negative. Like, they don't think it'll give them any like leg up on the competition. They don't think that, because honestly it won't help you competitively at all. it might help you make like a split-second decision a little bit faster. But if you're going against somebody who's going to beat you whether you KO one of their figures because you knew to perplex something more or not, like it's not really going to make like the difference. And that's the other thing about this is I'm seeing a lot of people online saying like, this doesn't change the game at all. Then why do it? If it's not going to change the game.
If it really doesn't change the game at all, then why do it in the first place?
Yeah, why even make this a thing? Yeah,
Hit us with that next beautiful paragraph. Clearly you're speechless, so I'll give you something to talk about.
Yeah, I have too much to say, and it's bogging my brain down. All right, we understand that some people may think, oh, okay, so one thing I do want to say is, like, WizKids pretty much puts all of the effort onto us, like, the community, and, like, fostering this game. Like, they have, up until very, very recently, they've put up, like, 0, like, ad space and 0, like, anything. Like, they've pushed their board games more than they've pushed Heroclix. Even recently, they've pushed their board games more than Heroclix. With WWE, they're getting like a little bit more attention, and they're doing like a big push because it's a new property. But to bring people into the game, they've like completely left it to communities without giving like the communities a whole lot of support to begin with. You know, we get like monthly LEs, but that's if you buy them. You know,
right?
Even if your store buys enough product to cost those like 17 times over, they still are going to charge you for like those monthly LEs that may or may not bring in, new players. Anyhow, we understand that some people may think this change is too radical, as they did in 2016. We also want to state explicitly, we appreciate that change can be difficult. Thank you for appreciating that. We're sympathetic to the players who have spent not only a lot of effort in memorizing particularly meta-worthy dials, but in perfecting methods too quickly to learn dials in general as part of the Heroclix practice regimen. Our hope is that the players that this might take one advantage away from are in fact some of the most skilled, experienced, and tactful Heroclix players who will still have a great time playing against opponents of all skill levels, even if the playing field might not favor them as greatly as it previously did. We wanted to address some of the strongest arguments we've received on the topic, as well as present additional information that led us to this decision. So, I should have saved that for when they address those arguments. Basically, I don't think that this changes the top tier competitive. Like, if you took the top 8 of this world, I don't think this changes a single player or like the way they play. And that's for one, it's a meta that's all about ID cards and retaliators, and you don't need to know the dial length on an ID card 90% of the time. You don't need to know the dial length on a retaliator ever, because it's literally just one click.
It's that, yeah.
Isaac's Q Prime, it's literally one click. So there's like stuff like that, and then the other half of it is in like the top tier meta. There's probably at any given time like 20 to 25 figures that are actually worth playing, like in that kind of competitive sense. And so people that see Trader also either have a Trader on their team, or they've played against one enough that they know, like, hey, I hit it for 4 penetrating, and he's going to lose that trade power. Or, like, I just hit him for, like, 7, and he's dead, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Same with, like, Kobik. Like, people who have played against these things, they might not know how long its dial is, but they know what they need to do to it. And that's all you need to know. You don't need to know, like, oh, if I hit it for 4, is it going to this or that? You just have to know, like, I need to punch it for 3, because that's, like, the optimal amount of damage with, like, a high enough attack, and it takes it off the scary stuff,
Yeah.
So, I like this little bit in here about, patting, like, the people on the back. Like, literally the top, like, I don't know, 50 people who actually, like, I've never memorized dials. I've looked dials over, but I've never bothered trying to memorize them. I'm not the top tier. I never will be. I don't care. But I don't care about, like, competitive stuff like that in that way. But I just love that they gave him, like, a pat on the back, and they're like, we think that you'll still do good. And it's like, yeah,
it's
no,
okay
duh.
there,
Like,
champ. Everything will be all right. Don't
this
cry.
literally is not. This was not like a.
No.
This was not a barrier to entry to the top tier meta.
It's a non-issue.
Things that are barriers to entry to the top tier meta are like cost to play, resources, like time and resources. So actually, like dedicating yourself and like training in the wilderness, lifting logs on like a pulley, having like a short old Italian man yell at you. Oh wait, no, this is the plot to Rocky 3.
Let's try it again.
So like, but really, just if you want to be really good at this game, all you have to do is practice all the time the one format that they actually run. So like, don't worry about states. That's gonna throw you off your game. Just play 300 modern with IDs and retaliators all the time. Practice on Roll20. 10 hours a day. Quit your day job because Heroclix pays really well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, all that prize
like,
money I make from getting 10th place at Heroclix tournaments, it's wild.
It's not like that terrible Magic game where you can actually live off of winnings, It's like upwards of like $3,000 to $4,000 in prizing that you will have to then slowly sell on Facebook trade groups and stuff.
Oh, yeah. You must talk about that weird, that one, witches of the side of a country. What was it called again? That's right. Spells of Togethering. That sounded like a great card game.
But seriously, like, it's not because people don't know dials. That's not what is keeping people out of competitive. I've won a ROC States event, and like I've placed decently at. I was in like top 8 at Worlds and teams one year, and like I mean that's pretty much it. I never did better than that. But anyhow, like the barrier to entry was not the lack of dial knowledge. Like matches that I lost. Had I known the dial, it would not have mattered. It comes down to positioning. It comes down to knowing what your opponent's pieces are capable of more than like what their dial says. And you already can know that from just reading like the traits and the powers that are on the face of the card. So it's like, oh, Sheriff Strange has a stop click 4 clicks in. So if I hit him for 3, he'll be on his stop click. If I force blast him with my hit, I can knock him back into a wall and finish him off. It's like, yeah, sure, that's great to like be able to look on the dial, but also that's not the thing that makes him scary. It's not like the stop click.
Yeah.
And most people that like have played with Sheriff Strange already knew that, so it's all right. Let's get on to
let's move on
what
to the
they
next
think the strongest arguments they've received on the topic are. Won't play just slow down from people viewing dials on cards. I already disagree with this. I don't think that this would slow down play unless someone was intentionally doing it. If I had like 5 minutes left in like the match, which is another thing, we should totally be allowed to time matches now, because like wouldn't that also like help new players? If I know that there's only like 10 minutes left in this 50-minute match, that'd be a great idea. That wouldn't change the game at all. I think we should do that in addition to this. So I don't agree with won't play, just slow down. I think looking at the dials would actually, if anything, it might speed up the game. If you were trying to stall, I could see you like going through like all of your opponent's cards. That would be a fairly obvious stall.
They'll stall. This is just another avenue for stalling. This like
it really, yeah.
I personally
really
believe like how I would intend to use it. Be like, I really don't know how much damage to do. Can I see it? I would literally just look at 7 clicks, and then I'd literally hand it right back to them. Or I'd be like, outwit invincible. I see you get whatever later. Outwit also that. So when you land on it again, you don't have it. And then I would just hand it back. That is the quickest, most effective way to probably look at someone's card. It'd just be like, okay, you have 7 clicks, thank you, and then here you go. That is, I don't want to say there's a correct way to do it. I think it's probably the most effective way to not slow play and then use the new ability to look at someone's card. If someone wants to slow play, they'd be like, well, I was going to hit you for this much, but I don't have that much damage that I can do, and on that click you get that. Here, let me look at this guy. I guess I could hit this guy too. Let me see. And it's like, then it kind of can. But you can go ahead and keep reading.
All right, so will this just slow it down? WizKid says, this was also a concern raised with our back of card implementation. In the intervening 3 years, we haven't seen this to be true in tournament play or our surveys, never once seen a survey, of local communities reinforced this perception. If anything, it may have contributed to speedier play. One of the reasons that we allowed players to view their own characters' dials via the back of their card is it made decision-making easier and faster. A player who didn't have their dial memorized could quickly evaluate the consequences of pushing damage that would move them from click 2 to click 3. They'd know what powers they'd end up with instead of trying to evaluate 2 different sets of possibilities. For example, knowing that your character has invulnerability on their next click instead of wondering if toughness might be good enough for your upcoming defensive position. So this is something that I've definitely done. I've checked the back of my card when I'm about to push somebody, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to lose outwit if I do that. I'm not going to do that. It doesn't take a whole lot of extra time. I usually do it during my opponent's turns, because I'm planning on I've only got a few things that can happen anyhow. Is this bad for the game that I'd be able to check that? No. I think that it's good for newer players being able to because you don't want to be a newer player and you go for the gusto and your character's just left as a puddle that does nothing afterwards. I do think it takes away from one of the more interesting aspects of the game, and that's the opaque dial. So maybe that's something we can look forward to, is clear dial tops coming soon.
Oh yikes. That'd be
all right.
That'd be interesting. But really quick, that is how I 99.9% of the time use any card at all. It's do I push onto something useful? Nope, won't push. That is literally it. 90% of the time, whenever I look at one of my character's cards, it's just whether or not I want to take pushing damage. That is basically all I've used the back of the card for. Will I take pushing damage, and then will this next attack kill me, and should I totally prob it? Those are the only 2 things.
Yeah, and I still play with characters before this was a change. So I still play with War of Light and with Wolverine and the X-Men stuff. I still play with stuff where I have no idea what's coming down the dial. The old X-Man from Wolverine and the X-Men. He has such a wonky dial, and I can never remember what his good clicks are on, so I never push him because I don't know if he's going to end up on the 15 defense with barrier, and that's a terrible click to be on, so I don't ever push him. It doesn't take any more or less time than if I was going to check the card, but also there is something that's a little bit lost from that older set where you'd have a character and the only time you'd push would be in a dire situation where you really needed to knock your opponent down some.
Yeah.
And I mean, thematically that makes sense because you're not going to a character in a comic's not going to overexert themselves unless it's to get the upper hand. They wouldn't be I bet instead of perplexing this situation, I could outwit them if only I try really hard right now and hurt myself a little. Batman's not going to tear a pectoral so that he can outwit the Riddler next turn. That's not a comic thing. He's not going to know that that's what he can do.
I know that if I dislocate my shoulder, I can say, Riddler, no, you can't.
Perplex would be a lot better for this team I've collected. So, yeah,
Let me kick the side of this wall as hard as I can, make my shin bleed.
let me TK Mjolnir and it explodes in the middle of the air because that's how that works.
I forgot that's what Magneto can do. I forgot he could just destroy the ancient
absolutely.
Asgardian hammer.
He can lift it too, for sure. Mm-hmm. It's made of metal.
Totally. Super easy.
There was a counter argument that if players had certainty about their future clicks held, it might slow play because they'd have information that could cause them to have decision paralysis. I think that's more likely the case without the card knowledge. There's been a lot of times where I'm like, do I want to push them? Do I not? Maybe they've got regen on this next click and I'll be able to heal up in like 2 turns. Maybe they won't have it and then I'll just get hit because I have toughness and I'll die. So that's way more likely to happen. The decision paralysis is way more likely to happen without the dial on the back of the cards.
I agree.
While that might be true for some players, we've received feedback from experienced players and communities. I'd really love to know who their experienced players that they polled were. Experienced players and communities that the typical case is a glance at the dial speeds up decisions. Some of those players, unprompted, said that they'd offer their cards to their opponents to speed up decision making. These players were leaning into something we had hoped to be true all along. Most players want to make key decisions and not spend time trying to remember information to help those with those decisions. All right, so I agree with the first part about it that they said. I really would like a whole list of their experienced players that they talked to, especially the ones that said, that these players unprompted told WizKids exactly what they wanted to hear. Like, what a grand old lucky happenstance that they, just stumbled into the conversation.
Depending on how many people they ask, we would have to assume that maybe 1 or 2 would actually somehow do that. But if it's like they asked like 5 and 3 people said it, you'd be like, but did they though?
And then also the part where it says, most players want to make key decisions and not spend time trying to remember information. I don't ever spend time trying to recall, like, even when I'm playing, like, not pre-carded. I don't play with pre-carded garbage.
Ouch.
Even when I'm playing, like, pre-dial, I'm going to say, like, pre-Age of Ultron. When I played pre-Age of Ultron, I think when did the new dial start? Was it Deadpool X-Force?
Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
Superior Foes, yeah. Deadpool was the first one I played.
Uncanny X-Men Spider-Man. And before had no dials in the cards and a better card layout.
Okay, so like Uncanny and back. When I'm playing anything from Uncanny and back, I will never, ever just like freeze up while playing. Like, it doesn't happen. I'm not like, oh man, like, do I clear? Do I push? I don't know. Is Proteus going to be good on click 3 if I push into it? The answer is no. And I've never once, I've never once slowed down because of that. And I don't think it would make the game go a lot faster if I knew what my opponent's dial was either. Like, that's not something I'm either going to decide to, shoot you with a 12 for 4 or an 11 for 5. And if I think that, like, you have the upper hand in the game, I'm going to swing for the fences and I'm going to go 11 for 5 because that's how I play. I don't play to, like, min-max my chances. I play to, like, have fun, 1, and 2 is, like, to crush my opponents every single time. So I almost always will just, be like, I need a 10 to hit this, but man, if I do, it's going to ruin your day. And so that's what I usually do. I don't care what their actual dial is, and it wouldn't help me even if I did. This change is happening, so that's, that's one thing. But when it happens, even in tournaments, I just don't think I'll, like, be checking cards. Like, I'll have to concede the point and let my opponent check the card. I won't do it begrudgingly. If they think that it's going to help them, I'll let them do it. But I don't think I'll ever once, like, need to do that because it doesn't really, that's not, like, my play style. Like, and for competitive stuff, my play style is, like, hit you for big damage, hit your whole team for big damage. Like, that's kind of like, I don't really play like the niche like ooh, like I can split 3 damage between 2 people. How do I do it? Kind of thing, you know.
Sure.
All right. So they go from that. So like, won't players spend a lot of time on how to split up damage? No, because
what an amazing segue. It's almost like you were just
Yeah.
that or something.
yeah.
I
No,
think this, well,
it's not
number
gonna
one, I
take
think this 100% helps. They won't spend time because they'll know, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the whole point. Like, this is why this change is useful. This is like a tick in that box, because I know, like, okay, do I need to do 3 to you or 4 to you or like whatever? It's like, okay, I do
Yeah.
3 to you, 1 to
Like-
you. Like that, this literally helps it. I really don't think anyone would
I've
spend
got
that much
5.
time.
5 wipe one of them out. It's like, yeah, 5 will wipe out like suited henchmen. Like, well, I don't want to wipe out suited henchmen. That doesn't
Yeah.
help. But it'll wipe out like, you know, Proteus. And it's like, okay, so Proteus is gone. I deal him all 5.
Exactly.
Won't this just be a possible stalling tactic for people? Yeah, it will be. They say this was one of the arguments made heavily to us in 2016. We think this is pretty unlikely. Yikes. Wow, you guys do not know your player base. But if players are attempting dishonest stalling tactics, there are already opportunities and, more importantly, penalties for that behavior. What is a penalty?
So this happens before almost every Heroclix tournament or whatever. They say if you think your opponent is stalling, call a judge over and we'll handle it there. We can't obviously do it after the fact. And I've always, like, I've heard that and I've been like, I really don't know when I can totally tell if my opponent is stalling. Like, I have been on one end of that, but I feel like most of the time I feel like I'm stalling because I'm like, dang, you really got me in a spot here. And I just continue to talk about whatever actions I can take. But I feel like I need to say something because if there's silence, they're going to be like, what is this guy doing? Is he trying to stall for time? But no, I'm literally trying to speak my thoughts out loud because I literally have no idea. You put me in such a terrible position that I literally have no idea what I'm going to do. As long as you are taking actions or concretely speaking about taking actions, I think you're not stalling. But obviously, I think this makes it a little more obvious where it's just like, can I see his card? And you read it. Can I see her card? And you read it. Can I see his card? And you read it. Let me see her card again, though, really quick. This to me seems like a more obvious way of stalling, I suppose.
So, and stalling is different than like running away. So, a tactic that you can use and not be called like a cheat for is like you pop one of your opponent's figures, you get points, and then you like hole up and you run away and you keep running for the rest of the game.
That's not
different.
stalling. You're taking actions.
As long as
That's
you're
how I would
taking
say.
actions and you're letting your opponent progress the game, even if you're just passing your turn, like you'd be like, barrier, pass. As long as you're giving your opponent a turn to do something and you're not trying to like burn time, it's technically not stealing. It is terrible to play against, but it's not. Did I say stealing? It's not cheating.
Stalling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not stall cheating. So there's that. The fact that I could say, all right, it's my turn. I'm up on points, and I feel like there's only like 10 minutes left in the game. So it's my turn. I can go, all right, like I could call Cyclops in here. He's got 8 range, so I can see her. Can I see her card? Okay, 3 damage isn't going to kill her. So I could running shot to there. Can I see this guy's card? Okay. Well, I could get him to that though. And so like I can totally just have like a valid reason for checking these cards and for like counting like the dial. I can have like an absolutely like turn-based like valid reason, and I could take up to like 5-6 minutes, and I feel comfortable that even if a judge was called over, like they're not gonna just end the game unless they're standing there and you're doing it like right in front of them. Now this isn't something that I would ever do. I lose so many games because I just throw my figures in the middle and just like brawl it out. I'm not really like the kind to go to time. like 99% of the time. I don't go to time on purpose.
Every time. Okay.
The one time I've taken a game to time on purpose was in Sealed for X-Men Phoenix Saga. I had Proteus, and he got hit. He was my last figure at 150 points, and he got hit to his stop click, which is a 0 attack, or no, it's a 10 attack, 0 damage. So you can retaliate, and you make them immobile, but you deal no damage. And so I was up on points, and Proteus has 3 speed, but I had literally 0 way to damage them. So my turn was as simple as, like, Proteus moves 3 squares over here. And then, like, his turn would happen, and I'd say, Proteus moves 3 squares over here. And then his turn would happen, and then I would clear, and then he would clear, and then I would keep trying to march Proteus, like, ever slowly away.
So slow. Wow.
That's not stalling, though. That's just me trying to run to time, because I knew that, like, the game was over for me if I didn't. And there was literally no attack I could make.
So I'll sort of get into that later with the rock game that I played,
I just think this shows, like, they've got a bit of a disconnect from, like, their own community if they don't think that stalling is they think it's pretty unlikely that this would be used in an attempt to stall.
You know what's a change that would get rid of stalling?
As someone who doesn't even stall, I can think of very easy ways to use this to stall.
Oh, for sure, 100%. You know what they should do? When you count out squares for any reason, you and your opponent should agree upon the squares you counted out and place a token along that side of the map. It would be illegal to count out squares more than 3 times in your turn. Oh my gosh, yes, you can move 10 squares. Quit counting it out, my dude. Oh,
yeah.
That is something that gets me. When they have to count squares and then count range, I love players. And I mean, I could lean over the table and kiss you. When they count out squares, they're like,
yeah, you have
that's
before.
it. And then they put an action token in the square they can land on. And then they count range, and they put an action token on the next square. That is awesome. That is a great way to play. I freaking love it when you do that. Do that more. If you don't do that, start doing it. Sorry.
I've put dice down to be like, all right, this is my range. Like, this is my effective range. This is where I can TK to. I've put dice down to do stuff like that. It's also a great way to get into your opponent's head, like, oh wow, he's got more reach than I thought he did, kind of thing.
Yes.
The cerebral attack, the cerebral assassin, if you will.
We already passed WWE today. We're done talking about it. Don't bring it up, Simeon. You're off the show. Gosh.
I wish. No. So let's move on from them not thinking that this will be used as a stalling tactic. Read the next takedown of a thing they made.
You ready for this hot take? Why make a change so focused on new players? Do you really think they'll make better decisions with all this extra information? That's the supposed question. Here's the supposed answer. Brand new players won't instantly make better decisions based on this change, but visible dials help them feel like they know the direction the game is going. Visible information is conducive to learning and makes the game more accessible for the new player. With so many things for new players to learn, removing the barrier, even if it's just perception, of memorizing dials is a big help. I never memorized a dial in my entire life when I was just new, figuring it out. So I didn't care at all. But it's almost like they're making this change for new players, and it's almost like that's a very important reason that they're making this change, Simeon.
Yeah, it's almost like some people have completely missed some of the questions that they've written down about how this is applicable for them bringing in new players and making the game, like, you know, friendly to new players. Like, there's a question right here that has to deal with that.
It's almost like some people didn't read the entire article or something.
Or, like, comprehend it. Or, yeah. I don't know how hard comprehension is in some of those southern states, but, you know.
I suppose real
anyhow.
Hey, this isn't the Shots Fired podcast. We're not allowed to make fun of people.
That's 22. Anything south of the Mason-Dixon line is just bad territory, in my opinion. Give it back to Mexico. Let them take it all.
Geez.
No, but to be fair, I would say over 90% of people who play Heroclix started before like dials were accessible. Even like before like HC Realms was used like heavily. I guess HC Realms has been around for a long time, but like how many people actually studied HC Realms to go to like a local WKO or, you know, you definitely do if you're going to like Worlds or Nationals or something like of that caliber, but just for the smaller end of the WizKids like stuff, like which is where like the new players that are like breaking into competitive would go. How many people actually studied dials before they were on the backs of cards? And how many people like started playing before they were even on the backs of cards? So like, I just don't think that this is like historically a thing that matters. I think that there's plenty of existing players that started off without this information, without like needing this information, and are still playing today. So I just find this kind of...
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. We've been talking about this like 30 minutes. We're so close to the end of the article. I want to keep talking about it in its entirety, but we can just chugga, choo, choo, keep the train moving steadily here.
Yeah. All right. So the beauty of Heroclix isn't limited to surprise in a dial. The most enjoyable parts are different for everyone, but typically include nuanced tactical decision-making, strategic team building, beautiful pre-painted sculpts, yikes, and exciting head-to-head combat. We realize that this might dampen a moment of surprise and delight in some games, but from the feedback we've received, again, from where, if there is a surprise when a character hits a click 4 and they have running shot and pulse wave, the negative feeling for the player, especially a beginning player, on the bad end of it greatly outweighs the delight of a player who benefits from this. It's almost like you could learn from your mistakes. So I've totally like used all 4 actions that I had to hit somebody to a crazy bad click for me. I think the biggest example I can think of was I was running like a terrible scientist theme team, and I hit the Black Bolt from Incredible Hulk. The guy like he goaded me into doing it. He like put him out there, and I hit him to his click where he's got pulse wave, and it's like a double power action and does his printed damage. And so then he just did like 4 damage to all of my characters the next turn. So like, yeah, it sucks, but it's like a lot of games like have a learning curve, and if you don't have that like little bit of barrier to entry, like the little like, you know, edge to like get better, then like what point is like I never need to care about, you know, my dial, because I can just look at the back of the card now. So it's like, oh, your dial is showing click 3. It's like, yeah, but I'm looking at the card. I don't care about the dials. I've got this card. So like I only use the sculpt for like, you know, a marker. So like that's actually Batman. I've got the Batman card, but you know, I put Wolverine out there. It doesn't really matter because you can look at my card and I can look at my card. So like really all you need to get into a tournament should be just the card and markers.
Sure.
No, that's not true. That's a terrible point.
No, that's really bad.
But
you should not be on a podcast anymore. You shouldn't have an opinion. I'm sorry, Simeon.
The beauty of Heroclix isn't limited to surprise in a dial. That's true, but again, thematically, it is. So the one thing that I think separates Heroclix apart from a lot of collectibles and a lot of like collectible games is that Heroclix has, well, one, it's got 3D sculpts of actual licensed properties. So that's like the big thing, you know. It's figures that you actually know and you care about. They've got a backstory. They've got an origin. They've got, you know, years of comics that go along with them or movies or whatever. The other thing is that you can play like Spider-Man against the Hulk or against like Batman, and you can kind of picture it in your head. Like I've always enjoyed trying to picture, Spider-Man has like super strength and like leap climb. So he like grabs a trash can and carries it up a wall where Batman was hiding. And then Batman tries to like knock him out, but like, oh, he dodged the attack. And then next turn he hits Batman with a trash can and Batman is knocked out. I mean, he's just dead, but he's knocked out because that's what our dials say.
Hey,
if you
when Hulk comes across like 6 squares and then throws a garbage container at you for 8 damage, yeah, I'm just knocked out. I'm unconscious. I'm definitely not paced on the ground,
So I think thematically, the surprise in the dial is necessary to the game. Batman never, like I've already said a little bit of this, but like Batman never like looks at the Joker and is like, oh, this isn't the Killing Joke Joker. This isn't haha Joker. This is, oh, okay. No, this is just like regular TV Joker. So I have to punch him for 4 damage. I only got to use I just got to flurry and hit him twice real quick. That's all I got to do. That'll take this Joker out because I can see his information. It's like people in comics who don't know who the Hulk is. Like the first time the Hulk fought Drax, or the first time Hulk fights anyone, and they're like, he's getting stronger the angrier he gets. It's like, yeah, shouldn't have been hitting him so hard. Now he's real angry and real strong, and he's gonna hurt you now. He's gonna hurt you real bad. Like, and really, we don't have a Hulk that does that like super well. There's a few.
To be honest, not really.
We have a
like
few
World
that,
War
like,
Hulks, I suppose. Those ones
Yeah.
do pretty well. My big main issue. Sorry, you want to finish?
No, go ahead.
Okay, good, because you're not allowed to. My big main issue with what they said was there's surprise when a character hits click 4 or whatever, right? They're saying the negative feeling a player feels is worse than the positive feeling of a player that gets knocked onto something, because they kind of knew that was going to happen anyways. I really hate this line of thinking because it throws back to, if anyone kind of reads comics, Owl Turd Comics posted one about a few years ago, and it was, I got really bummed because someone stole my bike lately. Real bummed. But I think whoever stole it was probably more happy to have it than I am sad to lose it. And the total happiness in the world increased. And he got so much flack from this. Because it's like, nah, dude, you're allowed to be mad that your bike got stolen. Because that sucks, Like, you're allowed to be surprised when something happens. Because guess what? That sucks. And you're feeling this bad. I mean, good. It's a game. Like, things happen. Like, you have to understand that every single game that you sit at, you're not just going to win. You're not just going to, like, steamroll your opponent. Like, what? It's like,
yeah,
oh, man, it really sucked when the Lions got the ball. But I think their team was happier to get the ball than we were to lose it. I'm like, what are you talking about? That makes no sense.
I've absolutely cheered on like my opponent when they've, I'll miss like 4 attacks in a row, and like that sucks more than them knowing my dial. That sucks more than them like having a surprise that's nasty. But I'll absolutely like applaud my opponent when they like pull out, like KC Flash like makes a breakaway roll that he hasn't made all game, and then he has the Suit of Sorrows equipped, so he hits somebody with an ultra heavy for 5 damage or 8 damage. I don't know, whatever he does. 6. He's got 3, so it's 6. I won't applaud that. That's terrible. Don't do that. But
Jeez.
Whenever my opponent like gets like a good turn, it makes me feel good, because at the end of the day, I want my enjoyment to be the same as my opponent's enjoyment. I never want to crush somebody so terrible that they were like, wow, I didn't have fun at any point during that like 15-minute game where you just stomped me. There's a time and a place for that, and that's like, competitive events. And even then, like, I just can't stand when like my opponent's like defeated like 20 minutes into the game, and they just like have that look on their face where they're just like ready to just like call it quits, but they're going through the motions anyhow. I hate that. And
I've played games where I'm winning and it's just like, man, this is not, like, I'm not having fun. I'm winning and everything, whatever, but I'm not having fun because you are not playing the game. And it sucks not playing the game. And I'm really sorry about that. Like, I don't like games like that. That's not a great way to play, you know?
Right. And Heroclix, I don't think it has a competitive aspect to it, but if I'm being completely honest, I think that if you want a manicured competitive environment for a collectible game, there are better games out there than Heroclix. WizKids, with all their 20 people, they don't have the time or resources to make this game as streamlined and as concise and put together as a true competitive scene needs. And so if you're really into the competitive scene in Heroclix, I applaud you that you spent time and effort doing that. But I think the real gold is in the casual aspect, which is the one part of good news in this is they say, as always, players at home can still play the classic way of not looking at the dial on the card. I hate that it's referred to as the classic way instead of just the good way. And then again, they reiterate, we regularly think about new players, from set list construction to the wording and special powers and traits. Sure you do. We can't quantify this. I mean, just look at Ultra Chase Captain Marvel if you want. You weren't thinking about new people when you made that terrible monstrosity of a paragraph. Yeah. We can't quantify this, but we know players who have remained invested in Heroclix throughout our focus on new players and have grown into beloved members of their local community and their Heroclix scene at large. We can sense the growth and excitement in Heroclix as the play continues to evolve and become an experience that the community wants to continue to invest their time and money into. They say they didn't come to this decision lightly. This isn't the only thing we'll be doing the next year to make Heroclix more inviting to new players, thank God, or up-and-coming retailers. But don't worry, this is the major one. Yikes. Oof. We understand that some people who are reading this might strongly disagree with it, but overall we hope that our fans will support us in our attempt at welcoming and retaining new Heroclix players. We're trying to grow the game into new stores and markets, and want to thank the players who are already helping this happen. We've got some exciting plans for 2020 and appreciate your continued enthusiasm for Heroclix as we reveal all that's coming. So WizKids allows the community to, look at the ROC. That was completely community started, community funded, community, everything. And It's at the point now where we don't even have fall WKOs, but we have ROC states, If you want to play competitively, ROC is your place to go. WizKids has defaulted a lot of stuff. HC Realms has the most comprehensive units section for Heroclix, period. It's got the most comprehensive forums for Heroclix, period. It's got people who put a ton of time and effort with almost no benefit to themselves. And WizKids has the win system, which logs. Mm-hmm. If you know how to use it, it will attempt to log stuff, and you can find stores on it. You can also find stores on Facebook, which is how I find most of the stores that I go to. But yeah, WizKids it defaults to the community for 95% of its outreach, I'd say, at least.
I would agree.
And then stuff like this, they say, you know what, the community spoke, but we think you're wrong. It's thank you, WizKids. Thank you for allowing us, or pretty much forcing us, to invest in this game, not only our time, money, and like effort, building these websites, building these communities, doing all of this stuff with zero help from like WizKids official, and then like just not even taking like our words for granted. They said there was enough blowback in like 2016 that they decided to dial it back and put it on the back of the card. Clearly they didn't care enough in the interim years to think that like we actually like meant what we said. I don't know. Or they just thought that we'd get used to it and move on. I'm not sure. The one true saving grace of this is that if you're not a competitive player, this doesn't affect you at all.
So if it's not an official run WizKids event, you literally don't have to do it. So this is only for Nationals, Worlds, WKOs. If this is at your home venue, I don't think you don't have to do it, right? So who cares?
Even
if someone honestly, if a new ROC States, sure, also WizKids event officially. So sure, only really competitive events where you absolutely have to do it. So that begs the question: does this help the new player? If they even like go to those events? Depends. Like sure, like all things do. My only real problem with this is that this is the major one. If this is the major thing to get new players into the game, then I think this is wrong. Because there's about 1,000 million other ways to get new players in the game than say you can look at the back of your opponent's card. I think there's a lot of ways, more creative ways than a paragraph in the rules to just say this. By the way, the rules where, like when will this be printed?
Yeah.
For
glad
new
we got
wise,
a new errata to the rules.
Right. Like there's so many new ways to make the game more streamlined for new players. Why are there 5 different rule books? Why do I have a WWE pack, a normal pack, a whatever, pack? Why are the fundamental WWE rules in the core rule book for WWE that comes with the ring? Why does it not have water terrain, elevated terrain? Why does it not have stop is protected, outwit, pulse wave? Why does it not have those things? Why are there fundamental differences in the game being played depending on which multiverse I use it in, or which universe I use it in? That shouldn't exist. Like if I have an all WWE theme team and I have a map on there that has elevated, I can't play that map because that's not in the WWE rules because it's not a multiverse game. Like that's ridiculous. There are so many things that don't work. Why is there a rule book, comprehensive rule book, this pack, and then there's a WWE pack, and then a WWE rule book? There are a lot of different ways that could be major to get new players into the game, and I'm a little bummed that this is the major one. Hopefully they're just overestimating how major this is, and that the other changes they will make to help new players get into the game and welcome them into the game are actually bigger, but they just don't think that they are. That's what I would hope, because I definitely think there's a bunch of ways to make the game more welcoming to new people, and I don't know if this is major, to be honest with you. I think it's major for people that are already been playing the game, but as far as new people coming into the game, I don't think so.
It would be a great way to retain new players in the competitive sense. Have enough product for fall WKOs. That would
be awesome.
This was like the first WKO season in a while that I was actually looking forward to playing 300 Modern, because we've got so much new stuff out from X-Men and wrestling, and I was just so pumped to play like my wrestling dudes in a 300 Modern setting, and now I get to do like ROC States, which is, I guess that's fine.
And I'm not bummed about that, because I love Pauper, and I think Pauper is super welcoming to new players, because it's like they don't have to complain about not owning a chase, not having a sideline of super friends, not having this super rare and that super rare. It totally gets rid of all that, and they don't have to own multiples either, because it's Highlander. And I think that is awesome. I think Pauper is a super cool, welcoming event, and the only people that complain about it are people that don't get to use their chases and their whatever, So I think that's great for new players, personally. I think that is an awesome format for new players to use. I don't know about Skirmish.
It's better than looking at the back of a card. That's for sure.
It's absolutely better than looking at the back of a card. You're saying that even though I got a booster and all it had was a rare and like 2 commons, 2 uncommons or whatever, that I can use like 90% of this booster? 75%, whatever, 75% of the booster. 70 point. I'm not going to do math. I suck at math. Anyways, I can use more of this booster, and it's awesome. So you're saying that even though all I have are these figures that people would literally just give to me for free, that they're competitive and I can actually do well in a tournament. Well, yeah, heck yeah, man. Because people are just giving away commons and uncommons. They almost have no value. I understand how far off track this is because we just barely mentioned states, but I get it. Don't like, why is he doing this? I thought we were talking about backs of cards. Yeah, we've been talking about that for 45 minutes, okay? Let me talk about something else. So
we didn't even get into the whole Roll20 thing and how.
No, we didn't. Let's not though.
You know what? You know what the best part about Roll20 is? It's not Heroclix. You're using Heroclix elements in like the worst possible sense of Heroclix, because the coolest part about Heroclix is that it's miniatures and that it's a tabletop game. And Roll20 is not a tabletop game, and there's no miniatures.
No miniatures.
There's little like flat
miniatures.
icons.
You have to take a picture and prove it. Like, yeah, I went to my venue, asked somebody to bring all these figures. I took a picture of it, and then I sent you that picture. Yeah, man, I totally own all this. No! I really hate Roll20 because it's digital Heroclix. Some people want to play digital Heroclix because they just like the fundamentals of the game. I don't. That's why I personally preferred the Skype tournaments where I had a camera. I don't care how long they took. I don't care what anyone thought about it. I don't care if you said I moved someone to A12, B13, whatever. I thought that was awesome because I was playing my figures, and I freaking love little plastic superheroes, the person and the concept, okay? So, like, that is Heroclix. That's why I like Skype. That's why I prefer playing over camera. Roll20 is a great tool for practice and whatever, don't get me wrong. But it's not Heroclix. It isn't.
Yeah.
That's fact. Jack.
And one last thing I want to say about this is I really hope that they're right and that this brings in like new players and encourages new players to stick around, and that new players are like, wowie gee, I never would have liked this game, but I can see the back of your cards, so boy oh boy, I'm going to keep buying these products and keep coming every week. And I'll say like, wow, that's literally the strangest thing I'd ever heard in my life.
Yep.
But I'm glad that you enjoy that weird niche aspect of this game that just somehow happened recently.
Totally, yeah.
True conversation that I'm having right now.
Does any new player even know this happened? Like, really? A couple, maybe, that are looking at the Heroclix website. Like, who actually, like, what actual new player even knows?
So, like, in all the people that I asked, they were like, wait, what? What new rule?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it hasn't come out officially yet, but, like, and, yeah, they do not care. Yeah. Or if they do, I think the split is, like, either they say, like, they don't know if it would help them or not, or they just say they don't like it.
So, geez, I just keep thinking back to something. So, new players don't really get that. Players that have been at my venue for forever. I post what we do every week in our area at 2 different game stores. I post that every single week on the Heroclix of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'll still get people message me the day before, hey, what are we playing Friday? I'm like, I literally put this on a group that you are in. You should know what we're doing Friday. Like, if they don't even know what we're playing that week, how do you think they're going to know this? It's up to us, once again, it's up to us, the community, to let them know. It's 90% of whatever. It's whatever. I'm not mad about it. It's not why I'm bringing it up. It's just like, whatever. But it falls on us, the community, to let people know about things that happen, things that change. It's a very community-driven game. There's a lot that rests on the community's shoulders, and this is another thing, you know?
Is that WizKids coming to take you away?
That's WizKids coming to take me away. They actually started the fire in my house, and then that is them, like, pretending to, like, oh, we gotta go put out the fire, you know? That's.
You want to read the back of the fire? Because you can't put it out.
No, because I got it, my Clix effects are back, so I slipped that under my house, and now I know it's on fire. That's actually a change I really like. If we want to talk about something and totally get off on a tangent.
Things that, like, if we wanted to list off all the things that we love about the game, because even with this, like, stupid change, it doesn't, like, I'm adamantly against it. I started off on the fence. I moved to the other side of the fence, and I just don't think that it's a good change or necessary. It's either unnecessary to bad. Like, that's where my barometer lies. Is unnecessary to bad. It either didn't need to happen or it's a bad thing that it's happening. But even with like that being my feeling, this does not affect me almost whatsoever in my day-to-day like Clix stuff. My venues won't play this way. We don't host a ton of competitive events where like I'll have to worry about it. Even if we do, or even when I do travel to like Worlds or Nationals or what have you, I probably won't play this way. If my opponent like wants to see my card, it'll just be something that I'll have to get used to. But really, like, I just think that it's kind of like them doing the least amount of work to try and show that they're doing something.
Okay, so
like, they could have put in so much more effort into literally anything else.
That statement I agree with. It's literally they changed nothing really about the game. They just added a sentence or 2 sentences, whatever. That I agree with. To play devil's advocate, why would it be wrong for everyone to have the freedom of information? All right, just like you have that information. Why should you keep it from me? Why can't we all share the all information? Does anyone not benefit from everybody knowing everything on the board? Because when I sit down and play chess, I know that pawn isn't going to turn into a knight halfway through, you know? Or when something happens, I know that, yes, once that pawn does get to the other side, it will turn into a queen. But I know that any other piece, if I damage it, obviously this isn't how chess works, and I'm going to give someone an aneurysm saying it wrong. But is there, go back to the statement, is there anything wrong with everybody in the game knowing 100% of the information that's in the game? That's my devil's advocate.
So, if it's just a game, then no. Like, if this is just a... Like, if this was just Magic, if this was just, you know, like the figures were just, like, amorphous blobs of nothing, not tied to anything, and, like, they just were placeholders for these dials that represented values that, like, combated each other, it wouldn't matter. But in a thematic sense and, like, a storytelling, like, kind of sense, to go back to, like, my D&D analogy for Heroclix, I always, like, talk about how Heroclix is like a D&D encounter. Your DM would not tell you how many hit points a goblin has left. So, like, your rogue's not going to, like, charge like a barbarian and be like, wait, before I charge that barbarian and get a sneak attack, can I even take him down? Does he have, like, how high is his HP? Like, what's his AC? You know, like, stuff like that. Your DM is going to tell you if you hit, and then you'll roll, and you'll see how much damage you do, and your DM will describe to you like what kind of damage happens to them, unless you just like completely obliterate them in a single attack, and then it'll be pretty obvious that they're gone. Heroclix.
So I'll agree with that.
It's
one.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I just think Heroclix, it's more than just like rolling dice and having stats. It's about like the thematics of it. It's about the, like, yes, the strategy and the interesting combos of builds and stuff. But if you take away like the thematicness of it and like the characters and like, because really like if you strip away the thematics, you also strip away like the characters, and it's just like a visual placeholder for literally whatever you want it to be. And if you take that away, then like it literally might as well be just any other game with like a non-static. The only difference is it has a non-static like dial to go with it. So the dial does change. Like, wow, how interesting that would be if in Magic your cards change depending on what like kind of health you had left. I don't know.
Sure. And I actually do like that, because if you've ever played D&D, it's really fun not knowing how much it takes to kill someone, because otherwise you're just min-maxing whatever. And that's why it's also interesting to not know what the rest of your party is going to be before you start a campaign, because it's like, oh, I guess we just ended up with 3 bards. That's cool, whatever. We'll work with it. That's what makes D&D fun, is because you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know that, yes, this dude takes exactly 6 damage. So it's like, nah, don't worry about it, whatever. It doesn't become a role-playing game anymore. It just becomes, what's the best way to beat this level? And it's not fun that way. I love the amount, when I talk about a good feeling versus a bad feeling, it feels so much better knowing that I don't know how much to KO this figure, and I finally do it, I feel so great. Like in D&D, when I have no idea how much it takes it, and we've been slugging it out for like what feels like hours on end, because it normally is, and I finally take down this enemy, it feels amazing. It is awesome. If I knew from the very start that I need to do whatever, I'm just going to feel really, really bad until I finally roll my damage dice high enough to get there, instead of the moment of relief when I finally take out the enemy. I'm done talking about cards. I hate them. I hate cards. We should go back to no cards. No more card of figures. No more special powers.
Really?
That's the end of card discussion.
Team
Simeon,
abilities.
that's the end of card discussion,
traits.
Simeon.
We didn't even get into the fact that the thing that this changes the most is like sealed events.
Okay. It's not the end of card discussion.
No.
It 100% changes sealed events totally. This is, I guess, my only thing I don't care for it, because I love sealed so much. I do kind of like not knowing, because it's all new. I personally would love it if we got no spoilers, but we knew what every single figure was, but not what they did. And that every time I open a pack, I have literally no idea what any of these people like do. I would love that. I would love it if they never had previews at all, except of sculpts. Because that's all I care about, is what a figure is in the set. The only thing I care about in Captain America is how many caps we're getting, how many Steve Rogers we're getting, and if the entire Captain America core is going to be there, and if they have a named freaking keyword. I do not care about what they do, just that they exist. You know? I think that's it. For figures and sets, I just want to know who's in it. You know? That's more joy in the preview I get than knowing what they do. The disappointment comes from knowing what they do, because I'm like, oh, they're not good.
You want to talk about things that like bar entry for new people, sealed is like one of the few places where a new person can like not be the best player, but they can thrive because they can pull just those like magical like figures that just have like great synergy in sealed.
Oh, we'll get into that, I promise.
And this is absolutely like, I'm not going to say it's 100% ruined, but it is so much harder for a new person to go into sealed and like not have like the tactics and strategy down pat. They have better figures, but then their opponent can be like, I didn't sit on HC Realms for like the last 40 hours studying these new dials, so I'm just going to look at the back of all your cards. If you want to talk about like making a new player feel like they don't want to play the game again, it's pulling great figures and then getting decimated because their opponent spent like 5 minutes staring at the back of his cards, figuring out the best way to one-shot like his Hulk and the best way to like double tap his new like champion, and then like he's just sitting there like, well, I thought this was a great team, but I guess this super cool game doesn't really have any strategy involved because you just know exactly how much damage you need to do to a character.
Yeah. All right, is that the final on cards?
Yeah, we're done.
Now we're done talking about cards! All right, moving on. Roctober. I'm going to try to keep this short, sweet, simple. Thursday night events. We opened like 5 Golden Age boosters. We opened 1 Warlight booster. Played against current world champion Isaac. First round. Got decimated. And I'm going to say this again. Decimated. I'm terrible in team events. My record is winning like 1 to 2 games in any team event ever. Highest being 2 games. I'm so bad. So bad. And but we had fun. You know why? Because we were all playing with equally terrible figures. So loved that team event. Loved that it was a Critical Clix team event and no one from Critical Clix was there. That was hilarious. Loved the sponsors, whoever they were, that handed out prizes for crit misses and stuff. That was awesome. Next event. WWE 2-person whatever. Wow. This set sucks. WWE figures against other WWE figures is a completely different way of thinking than people are going to say that. I'm like, I thought this guy was excited for WWE. He is. He totally is. He just doesn't know how to play WWE figures. That's just lack of me being any kind of player, good, bad, otherwise. Because what I thought was going to be good was not what everybody else thought. And we, turns out, 6 Eddie Guerreros brings the game kind of a slow crawl, because that was the team. I think the event was awesome. I thought it was really fun. And even though I lost, me and my partner, Kevin, lost every single game. We only KO'd one figure the entire night, which was Eddie Guerrero. Somehow we KO'd one of the harder figures to KO in the entire set because he's got a stop click he heals off of and you got to hit into it twice. So somehow we did that. But every single game, we had fun. You know why? Because the Tower of Power is too sweet to be sour. I got you for 3 minutes. Bonesaw is ready. Because everybody was having fun because it didn't really matter who won. Like, there was still awesome prizing because it was a rock event and they gave away neoprene maps that had a, boxing ring / wrestling ring on them. They gave away LE figures. Everybody was still trying to their best, but it was like, oh, here comes the Undertaker. Tombstone! By God, that man's got a family. Like, because the feeling in the room, even for people that didn't enjoy wrestling, was so electric. I mean, there was like, woo! Woo! Like, there was, it was just such an amazing feeling. It was so awesome, just because the energy was different. Because even though it was still competitive, and there was still great prizing on the line, and people were still trying their hardest, it was just, it had so much more of a casual feel because of how narrowed down the sets were and how just wild everyone was getting. It was awesome. And this is coming from someone who lost every single game and just really just want to have a good time. So if you just want to have a good time, boom. Like, seriously. And that's what I'm really hoping for WWE Heroclix. If I, go to my venue this Friday, next Friday, and I see 3 or 4 new people, and they're like, I finally found these, whatever, and I really want to try playing this game. I saw the group on Facebook. Like, let's do it. And they're just really into it, then I'll be so happy. Because if people that are already into the game are having this much fun with WWE, I really, truly hope that WWE brings in all these new players. Like, even if you hate wrestling, you're like, a bunch of fake, predetermined whatever, I don't like no wrestling. Time to go watch Game of Thrones. That's a real TV show. Like, even if you hate it, I really hope you understand how awesome this is for bringing in new people and just how much fun this event was. All right, so there's my spew of wrestling for now, because it was just awesome. It was just super fun. Like, losing every game.
That sounds really fun.
I really never had so much fun losing every single game in a tournament. It was great. It seriously was, because it didn't matter. It mattered, but it didn't matter. Next up, final day. Not the final day. Saturday was teams. The Team Rock Highlander. I really like this format for teams because it makes me feel like a team instead of just, hey, couple of random dudes. I'm just a random dude. You want to just be some random dudes, but we'll be random dudes together and call ourselves Random Dudes Are Us and then just play whatever because it doesn't matter. Instead, I feel like this comes to, like, I still love that style of playing. I'm just doing it specifically because that's what Simeon did, and I just want to make fun of Simeon, like, obviously. Which is awesome, which is a totally cool way.
Did it twice.
Number
Thank
one.
you.
Yeah, did it twice. Like, but that brings people together. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that either. That's a really cool way to do a team event where it's sealed. You don't have to prepare anything. You just get to go for it. That is awesome. I love that aspect of bringing teams together. This one makes me feel like more of a team because we're talking weeks in advance. We're practicing builds. We're figuring out what can be on your team because it physically can't be on mine. The Super Highlander of we can't have any game elements, even maps, overlap on any of our 3 teams makes us become so much more of a unit, as a team than anything else. And I really, really like this format. Now, I don't think it's going to be used in a ton of teams coming up. I really hope it slowly becomes a thing, more of a thing, because I really enjoyed it. Now, there were only 30 people, so there's only 10 teams. I was playing a monster theme team. I was practicing all this time with like an X-Men team or some kind of Avengers Alpha Strike team. I ended up saying like, whatever, let's play a team with Captain Venom on it. So I play like Captain Venom, Wendigo, Groot, Surtur, blah, 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 blah. A ton of monsters, right? Mojo, stuff like that. I lost every game except one that day. But I really liked seeing how creative people got. And you could understand that the competitive figures right now are in such a good spot. You're saying that all 3 teams can have to be different, and they could still be good on their own, in a non-Highlander, non-team competitive format. Like, honestly, each team we played that day could still be really good without the restrictions of teams. And I think that shows how solid of a spot the game is in right now that anything works. We're almost back to lanterns and entities without having lanterns and entities being super annoying. Because you could put an entity and a lantern battery on any team, almost any team, and turn solid figures into really good figures competitively, you know? I loved that era because every time I saw top 8s, top 16s, I saw wild, crazy teams doing really well, and I loved that. And I think just nowadays, we're still going to see the same 5 whatever teams at every event. Obviously, that's always going to happen. But I just think that this format goes to show, and I never played a similar team each day. You know, maybe their A player had a different one, you know, or their B player had a different one that was actually the same as one I played before. But either way, I never played a similar team the entire day, which is really cool. The only game I did win was against Tyler Spees, and we were both running monster-themed teams. Just saying. I want that to be perfectly clear that I beat the 2018 Heroclix World Champion while my build had a whale. Like 50% of our builds are like the same. You know? Did he fail his opening attack? Did he have a 12 attack and needed like a 5 or more to hit everybody? And did he roll a 4? Yes. Did he forget that figure had probability control? Yes. But I still won. You know, I'll be the first one to tell you. That I won out of sheer dumb luck, because that's okay, ladies and gentlemen, because it was awesome. Did I almost forget and end my turn after I had Surtur Retal and miss with that same 12 attack on 18 defense, needing a 6 to hit? Did I almost forget that because we're both colossal that I can just punch you anyway? Yeah, I did, but I didn't, and then I killed him. So it's okay. It's totally cool, you know? But will I still tell everyone, like, yeah, I just beat, like, the world champion once at Heroclix. It's, like, no big deal. I totally beat him in a game. Like, it was just saying, you know? Like, dude. So, yeah, team event was really cool. I think Highlander Teams is awesome. I encourage any venue that is somehow big enough to have a team event, even if it only can be 2 people on a team, to try this format. Obviously, you're one of, like, 2 or 3 venues in the nation that could do this. Or I guess if you're in Canada or some other place, if you can do it, please do it. I think it's super fun. I really do. I think it encourages teams being a real team and talking beforehand and learning how each other play and deciding what they should play. I think that's really cool. All right, singles. Singles this year was sealed, which is normally what teams is, and that's okay. What did I pull? Out of 2 boosters, they did allow a mulligan, which is at the point of opening the very first pack, or before top 8, you can choose to buy 2 more boosters. Now, this would be spending about $80, and you can only do it once. I didn't mulligan because my boosters were pretty darn good. My team ended up being Cassandra Nova at 150, Bastion at 100, that's the thick Bastion, the one that's on the 2x2 base, Bolivar Trask at 35, a Friend of Humanity at 10, and then I also pulled a Sentinel and a Guard Command. So somehow, out of 2 boosters, I not only pulled a +4 Sentinel theme team, but I pulled one of each figure that every character on my team can call in, besides a Friend of Humanity. So Cassandra brings in the Guard Command, Bastion brings in a Sentinel, and Bolivar Trask brings in a Friend of Humanity. I literally pulled 3 generics and then 3 figures that all brought them in. Out of the 4 generics in this set somehow. My team is pretty dumb. I beat players that I know are better than me, just as a fact, that day, just because of how well this team synergizes. It synergized amazingly well. I only used mind control on Cassandra Nova effectively, in 1 game. Besides that, it literally worked so well, I was just like, why don't I just attack you and deal you damage, you know? The only reason I went... Damage. Yeah, just going for high damage. It really didn't even matter for me to try to mind control you. The only problem I ran into was Cassandra not having shoot while based, which sucked, right? Or any form of movement attack, which balances her out. She's 150 points. She's got shape-changing senses, all sorts of really cool stuff. But her not having any form of sidestep top dial, and her not having any form of shoot while based, but she can ignore characters, and also no hindering or no elevated, whatever, kind of hurt her a little bit. I'm trying to remember this game. So any character, this is what gave me the trouble the most. I really feel like I really wanted to win this event, I thought it'd been really cool because I really want to make a map. Almost more than making a figure, making a map seems like so awesome. And I love that this is what the ROC does. Oh, sorry. Before I do this, the team winners was Superfan Lucas Van Holland, Isaac Denke, who also is at my current home venue, and Matty G. So it was Phoenix Nest that won the team event, but more so it was 2 South Dakota boys that won the team event. And I was really, really, really proud of that. I was so happy that, I mean, these guys, they practice a lot. They work really hard. They do their best to be really good players, and it totally worked for them. And I was very happy that they won. I was honestly super happy. Like, even though I got 10th place, right, we literally were the worst team that day. I just loved how well people in our car did. And that was awesome. So congratulations to them. To go over singles once again, the only reason I won certain games, and this might sound like a cop-out, is because I didn't write Star Trek Underground as one of my maps. I had High Noon Saloon and Lombard Street. They're both really clear open maps, which means if I had any character that can't be shot within 5 squares and has like a ridiculous, let's just say something like a stupid number, like 9 range, triple target, they just completely outpace me and can basically run over the whole team. I'm basically saying 90% of the reason that I lost games like that were because I didn't choose a map that was favorable for that matchup, and I didn't think about that. I really do believe that if I didn't let onslaughts, red onslaught or otherwise, run amok and always get, the first punk attack off on me and just punk me for 5 damage or like whatever right away, or mind control everybody, that those games would have been a lot different, personally, because that's what this team failed against. Any team that was just like solid attackers and solid like whatever, like Blue Phoenix, Cable, plus a Wolverine and a Jean, like whatever, like teams like that, no problem with. Because if all you were was just a really solid attacker, this team like just didn't care, just because of how much synergy was with it. Like, it was seriously insane that in a Brotherhood X-Men dominated set, I made a Sentinel team and I got all of the characters they generate. It's still so ridiculous to me. This is like the best polls I ever had. I was honestly going to play this team no matter what, and I didn't even notice that Cassandra had the Sentinel keyword, and I was going to play it without theme, to be honest with you. And I was like, oh, she has Sentinel? Well, then, yeah, of course I'll make it a theme team, So, yeah, I went 3-2 in Swiss. I had terrible luck against onslaughts. Like, it was insane. Red onslaught or otherwise, it was really rough. And that was always in the back of my mind, where ever since I lost that first match against Red Onslaught, like, no matter what, it just kind of, destroyed my synergy, because it didn't matter, because then boom, Bastion or whoever can just take out my Bolivar Trask and can really mess me up. So I really grew to hate Onslaught more than ever in this whole format. Top 16, I played the least fun game of Heroclix I've ever played. I get myself so nervous and nerved up. Like, during all of the first 5 matches, I'm like, we will destroy mutants. Mutants are terrible. Defeat the mutant race. Humanity for the win. Because it's a Sentinel themed team. I'm just having fun. I want to do as well as I can. But at the end of the day, it's about having fun. In top 16, it was single round elimination. This is pretty much what always happens whenever I start doing well in a tournament, or at least it feels that way to me 9 times out of 10, that I really play my butt off in like the first like cut game, and then I just drop the ball really badly. If you want to see how would you say it? Whatever of that, an example, go to Happy Little Heroclix. You have like 2017 XXS sealed. We have one video of me playing against Lucas where it's top 4 and I just play my butt off and just do my best. And I'm just so physically exhausted from that game that when I finally played against Edward Shelton to win it, the top 2, I dropped the ball so hard and probably played that game worse than any game that entire day. That was just literally so bad. I was like, wow, how could I have possibly messed that up so frivolously? It was like handing someone a win. So in top 16, and I'll try not to talk too much about this. I know it's super boring. But I played against Nimrod, and he had Magneto, and then he had a guard command. So, cool. He placed his objects where I could see him. This is the first time I've ever done this, just because I was playing against Onslaught and was tired of all his free TK. I destroyed 2 of his heavy objects just right away. As my first action. He's like, oh, I didn't see that coming. And I'm like, oh, I didn't really see it coming either. I don't know why I did it. Also, the amount of leadership on this team is dumb. Cassandra, Bastion, and Bolivar all having leadership, being able to keep going every single turn, is pretty ridiculous. It's awesome. It's almost midnight when we're recording this, guys, so I'm gonna do my best. All right. The cotton candy bang is starting to wear off. Not gonna lie, and it tasted terrible. So playing against Bastion, I'm like, that Magneto, I just gotta punk him right away. So I did my best to get rid of Magneto. He missed a lot of attacks. I didn't even get to make that many rollouts because he didn't hit a lot of attacks. Everybody on my team kind of has an 18, and Bastion just, well, not Bastion, but Nimrod's got to hit something, I'm like, I don't even want to attack Nimrod. I tried attacking him 3 times. Every single time, he either rolled a crit hit or whatever. For some reason, his dice were cold on his turn, but hot on my turn, and he kept reflecting the damage back. I'm like, okay, whatever, Bolivar Trask can just free heal it. Well, eventually, we'll get there. He knocked Bastion on his free barrier, which he can place only adjacent to Bastion. It mimics a force field, and you cannot shoot it, because obviously it's his personal force field. It makes sense. It's cool. No giants can shoot over it. It totally blocks line of fire. It literally came down to the last 15 minutes of this game where I would just sidestep, move, carry, barrier, making his Nimrod, who has no movement attack, have to phase over this way in order to get a shot on me. Then I would sidestep, move, barrier, whatever, and then he'd have to phase over this way. And then it's like, oh, he actually was able to base me, so I'll have to sidestep breakaway. We made it. Move, place you there, barrier. I literally did that. It's giving me jitters again just thinking about it because of how terribly boring it was, but also knowing that if I messed up the flow of that at any time, that he would capitalize on it and he would just, punk me. He had to kill Cassandra Nova to get more points because I killed his guard command and his Magneto. But it was my least favorite game of Heroclix because we weren't rolling any attacks for the last 10 whatever minutes. It wasn't really stalling because I was still taking actions and I was still just doing that same thing, rinse and repeat over and over again. And at some point I was like, why don't I just try to attack? I have enough free heals, I have enough whatever, but I literally got myself so psyched myself out about if I attack, he's just going to murder me, So instead, I just kept doing rinse, repeat, sidestep, move, barrier, sidestep, move, barrier. He took a push, he did whatever, he tried a colossal push, tried to do all this stuff. And I felt so terrible doing it the entire time, but I'm like, this is the most effective way to win, and it's not playing Heroclix. It's placing down little tokens and not making attacks and not playing the game. And I hated every single second of it. I won the game, but I just hated it. I really hated playing that way, and then I just was so brain dead after it. It was so terrible. It was just so incredibly lame and boring, and I kept apologizing to him, I'm sorry, man, but this just seems like the best way to do it. I'm just gonna keep doing it, and we kept our turns fast though. I wasn't stalling. I was like, boom, I sidestep barrier, whatever, it's your turn. Okay, I place barrier here, blah blah blah, it's your turn. We didn't slow play it at all. We kept it moving. And yeah, won that game against Nimrod in a really lame way. Ended up going against Adam Friedman. I played Adam Friedman twice. He probably thinks I'm the worst Heroclix player in the world, if he even knows who I am. Because every time I've played him, it's been one of the last games I play that day, and I just dropped the ball super hard. He had an onslaught team where I made a ton of misplays against it. And what else is there? Yeah, it really sucks. The only bad thing is I can't do the whole barrier thing against Onslaught because he has movement attack. Even though he has phasing, he has all the cool free powers that he can do. So it totally negates everything. Even if I got knocked to that point, he would still be able to move around, mind control, whatever. Also ignoring characters and hindering is a little good. So yeah, that team I lost against, and I was honestly so relieved to not play Heroclix and then just go because of how nerve-wracked I got during the Nimrod game of just barriering in. I literally only wanted to win that because it was a national event. I would be able to make a map, which by the way, if I would have won, it would have been the town from Blazing Saddles, where it's the fake town. That's the map I would have made. How cool would that have been as a map with all
the buildings
cardboard.
Are just
cardboard
cardboard
cutouts, and then one of the people would just be me because I'd be a cardboard cutout. That's how I put myself on the map. In my mind, I'm come on, win this national event. You'll be qualified for whatever, which means when you play WKOs, you can just play 4 shifting focus Captain Americas all the time at WKOs, and you don't have to try to play Heroclix at all. That's what kept me going during games. I was just like, man, I get so bored, and like any reason for me to bring up the Captain America set, as anyone knows, will automatically happen. And Kenny Pino was at the event, and I was like, man, I really hope the Captain America set is good, because that's all I'm going to be playing if I win this event. And then like I overheard him, and he said, it's okay. And I about assaulted a person over playing Heroclix, not gonna lie, because like I have like literally such high standards. Like obviously anybody else, it's probably like thinking realistically, the set is gonna be like an okay set. They didn't give much thought into. They're like, we should probably make a Captain America set. It gives us an excuse to make a bunch of Avengers. But because it's me, I literally have such high standards for that set that I'm placing my entirety of 2020 on that entire set. Like that is literally the only thing I care about. What they're probably going to do is do me dirty like Earth X and make it a half Spider-Man set and make me want to go throw myself in a garbage can. Being realistic here. So yeah, hearing him say like, it's okay. I was like, Kenny Pina, I'll punk you so hard. I mean, obviously no, I won't. Like it's Heroclix. Doesn't matter. But yeah, and then the winner of the singles was Easton Brock. Easton Brock ended up winning the National Singles. I about said Star Trek sealed, but it is Uncanny X-Men sealed. And
X-Men.
That is
Dark Phoenix.
Not Uncanny. Yeah, Dark Phoenix Saga. Sealed. So congratulations there. I really enjoyed what I enjoyed most about Roctober is seeing people. This is what I enjoy most about any Heroclix event at L. The only reason I play competitively and go to these places because I like seeing the players that also show up to those places. I love it. I seriously do. Seeing people like this guy I played in Nationals at Origins, Lewis, and then also seeing like Sean Gladden is a really cool guy. Meeting new people. There's one named Jason who like apparently didn't like me for the longest time because I wore a cowboy hat. Like first I ever like knew of that. Just like someone who just dislikes me just cause for like no reason. You know, I got to meet him. I got to learn why he didn't like me, and then I got to learn like why he like tolerates / likes me now. I'm like, all right, very cool. You know, I just love seeing people. I love meeting new people. I love all of that. It's so great. Spending time in the car, driving with all your buddies. You know, talking on the way there, playing a little Bad Sam on the way there is always awesome. Travel to events if you can afford it and if you can make time. I think it's so much fun. That is Roctober. We're gonna pound through the rest of the episode because I so badly want to pass out right now. There are previews. Simeon. We're not gonna talk about dials at all. No siree. The previews were Baron Mordo, Nightmare, and the Dwelling in the Dark, or whatever his name is. They're pretty cool. Check them out.
Dweller in the Darkness.
Dweller in the Darkness. They're pretty neat.
Nightmare is a throwback to the first Nightmare we got with a 14 end cap top dial. That's the cool thing about him. Other than that, he's fairly standard. He's got like a Mephisto kind of trait too. Dweller in the Darkness. Let's see.
If you read one trait, I'm punching myself in the face right now. You have no idea.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool. We'll talk about him later. Look him up.
I think Dweller in the Darkness is interesting, and Baron Mordo are, but yep, they're on the Facebook.
Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention. I loved the new maps this year. You kind of heard that, but the political rally map at Roctober was, for some reason, instead of having the American flag background with the Juggernaut, whoever, stomping through it, the carnage and wreckage, it was like a Japanese rising sun looking flag. The map itself, I don't think is fundamentally different, except for aesthetic. And I was kind of bummed that I didn't get my sweet American flag map, and instead I got this like whatever map. But there's novelty to it, sure. And so that was neat.
You'd be able to trade for it when the American one comes out.
I should be able to, yeah. I kind of want to keep both, honestly, but I probably will just try to get the American flag one. Next up, WKO prizes, rumored to be Deadpool the Duck being the main one, Maximoff Twins, and Pixie, plus a special object is going to be old pile of tires. Good lord. I'm really excited for Deadpool the Duck. I thought that was a really fun thing. I really like Howard the Duck as a character, so any version of that I'm excited for. Do not care about Maximoff Twins or Pixie. I do not care. Why is a pile of tires a special object?
The only thing I can think of as like a pile of tires being used as a weapon is there's like a Flash or Quicksilver. There's some sort of like speedster cartoon where he throws tires around somebody like super fast, and so like the tires just like keep landing on him really fast, and then he's just like stuck because he's in a pile of tires.
Oh, that's funny. That's a funny thing you can do. Maybe you just trap him in tires.
Yeah, I don't know how you. I don't know.
We're not talking about it anymore. Moving on. That was news. Let's try to get done with community in like 10 minutes. I'll be so impressed if we can do it.
There are dozens of us.
Dozens! This week's Community Tuesday's question is, what's your go-to Halloween team or favorite monster army to collect? Simeon, what is your answer for that?
Vampires. Almost every single time. I'll bust out all the worst vampires that need way more help than they're worth playing. Not Fear Itself Dracula, but usually I don't do either Dracula, Fear Itself or Amazing Spider-Man. But I really like trying to make Hellcow work. This year I'm going to try and make Barbados work, because he's a giant scary bat thing. Let's see. Morbius, Morpheus, whatever. The Midnight Suns, those are my favorites. Yeah, and then Justice League Dark. They're pretty cool.
My all-time favorite Halloween-like stuff is just zombies. The only bad thing about zombies, you want to play good zombies, you're not playing a horde of zombies. You're instead playing like Marvel Zombies, which I'm cool with. I freaking love Marvel Zombies. I love playing them, and if I want to play zombies casually, I just don't play Super Skrull or like whatever. I make a Hydra team, and I play Zombie Red Skull. Like, that's it. Favorite all-time monster army? Most people should know this. I have like 40-something skeletons from Undead. I love skeletons because I love Army of Darkness, and I just want to play a scenario of that one day where I just have a ton of skeletons against like a bunch of Templars or like whatever. Like, I just want to do that. I freaking love skeletons. I love generic skeletons. I think they're awesome. They're spooky, scary, and they're great. We're going to read just our favorite answer. We're originally going to do top 3 for this one, but the podcast is so long, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going to read our favorite answer. Simeon, what is your favorite answer on Facebook?
On Facebook, Sarge Uchiha says, vampires, though they really do suck.
Ha!
In the meta right now.
Ha!
Says they really do suck in the meta right now.
That's actually
vampires are known for drinking.
Suck your blood.
No, I picked that one because I'm also playing vampires this year.
Ooh. The plot thickens, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Zerfy, missing a few pieces. I'd love to do a mad scientist team just for fun. Dr. Frankenstein, Lex Luthor, Poison Ivy, Mirror, Geordie LaForge. Ooh, I'd have to look and see what else fits the bill. This one, to me, stood out because we were like, what's your monster team, whatever. But he flipped it. It's like mad scientist team. I think that's awesome. I think that is really cool. Like, it's unique. It's different. It's really, really sick. And I totally appreciate that.
It was man that was really the monster all along. 'Twas beauty that killed the beast.
You're not wrong. Oh, wow. Here we are.
If only we had a good Titano so that I had like something to play as King Kong.
Who's Titano?
The DC monkey.
No, I know who he is.
Titano.
Simeon. I don't care for your opinion. Get out of here.
Okay.
Titano. Toto. It's Toto, okay? Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to our Jedi legend, Heroclix tip of the week.
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Tip of the week for a mere 50 points. Rebirth Kid Flash is a gem. Took me a few plays, but each game revealed a new treat. Sneaky, 4 range, 1 target, no breakaway risk. Moving allows use of the Titan's team ability at no cost. So mobile, even hindering and elevated. Don't slow him down. Oh, I'm not done yet. Top dial, shape changes, super senses. You struggle to hit him. That's if he hasn't run out of sight. This is, by the way, not a tip. It's just a figure he wants you to play. Don't think we didn't notice, Jedi Legend. This is not a tip at all. You just told me to play a DC figure, which is not going to happen, by the way.
Hey, you want to...
I ain't pulling no punches just because you're British,
be a good
buddy.
player, play this good figure. That's the tip. That's always my tip for new players is like, don't bother buying like Spider-Man and Batman and all those characters that you like and enjoy. Buy this weird green booger monster named Unimind and just play that forever.
Ooh,
because that's
sad.
No, that used to be my advice. That was like 2 years ago when it first came out. I was like, sure. You don't need, like, why bother playing anything else?
Just play this. Just play this thing. Just roll dice and say you're gonna use Perplex or whatever. Just play that, man. But thank you, Jedi Legend. I know you're secretly thinking like, Chris would never make fun of my tips like this. Jeez, man. Well, that's the real world, and the Brits lost America in 1776, so I don't need to hear you complain to me about anything. Jeez, how to alienate people.
I don't think they lost. They just pulled out way too late.
Sure. It's American history. I can say whatever I want happened, Simeon, so watch your mouth. All right. We also have questions. Malcolm Rush. Well, I'm going to be real with you, buddy. Don't play the bumper, Simeon, because we're not answering them this week.
That's in Japan!
Japan? No. I can't go to Japan.
I agree with Woody. We can't go to Japan right now. We'll do them both next week. I didn't think we were going to talk for 2 hours. I'm so sorry. Oh, goodness gracious. We will do Robin's question, a superfan Robin Caves, because it's one question, and it's very simple. So we'll do that one. I'm sorry, Malcolm. I'm sorry. But, like, this would add another, 30 minutes to the show. And people are already, looking at the download and seeing that, it's 2 hours, and they're like, I'll just skip this episode, to be honest with you. So, goodness. So Robin's question was, what figure from the pre-carded era would you like to see get remade in the current design philosophy? So a figure that hasn't been made since it was pre-carded. Simeon, what's your go-to, man?
The figure that I picked was one that I still, I've never gotten my hands on, but I still want to, and that is Ares from the Legacy set. For 275 points, he's got Mystic's team ability, he's got 12 speed phasing, 14 attack super strength, 19 defense impervious, and 5 damage with outwit. So, monster back then, still a bit of a monster today. His stats drop quite heavily. He's also one of the only DC Ares, I think.
One of two.
Yeah, one of two DC Ares that we've ever gotten.
The only good DC Ares. Arguably.
Yeah, arguably. Definitely, yeah. So, if he was remade today, I'd pick him to be remade today because, one, we haven't gotten one since DC 75th, and Ares is a huge figure in DC Comics. He's a big part of the Wonder Woman comics, and he shows up in a lot of just a lot of the one-off issues and stuff too.
Nice.
So for that reason, also because I think that he's something that they could just pretty much do whatever they want. He really, the God of War doesn't really have to fit into any particular form, and yeah, that's why I picked him.
You're saying give us a DC 2x2 set and make Ares just a huge monster.
Yeah.
Beast.
A CGI monster. As long as he gets a 14 attack with 5 damage.
Oh, absolutely. Duh. So I'm looking at there's a 3-point difference between DC 75 and then Legacy. One, you get charge instead, but he has a 12 attack instead of a 14, and a 17 defense instead of a 19. So personally, for 3 more points, I would take Mystics over Quintessence, and them just not being able to do stuff. I want to say, maybe not. Who knows? My answer is going to be Justice is Served. No idea who this guy is at all. White trench coat, white mask, white fedora, whatever. He's got a Tommy gun. He might be that one doctor guy who was in 2 Captain America comics during the war. / he was in X Factor for a little bit. Don't know. Don't care. His name is a sentence. It's Justice is Served. His name is literally just the thing he said. It's awesome. He has an 11 attack with 3 damage exploit, 14 defense with super senses. He's 31 points though, and 11 for 3 exploit, 31 points. It's pretty solid. I want to see how well he would do modern age. If they would just make him also wacky, or if I just want more people that have sentences for their names. That's it. That's all we got. So that brings us to the close of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are somehow still here and you enjoyed listening to the show, check us out. We upload it on YouTube, we upload it on Podbean, upload it on iTunes, and basically anywhere podcasts are found. If you want to write in questions and have them ignored, like Malcolm's this week, you can go ahead and send us questions to our Facebook. I'm sorry, we normally don't do that. I think we're going to have so much less to talk about next week that we'll do a more community-dwelled episode. Sorry, but there's just a lot of things happening this week.
Yeah, we'll be out of previews pretty soon.
We'll be out of our saltiness about cards and then everything else in the world, and we'll be totally done. So go ahead and message us in at Gmail at dialhforheroclix@gmail.com. Send us into our Facebook.com/dialhforheroclix. Send us a message there. It's Twitter is dialh4. That's the number 4 HeroClix. Send us a message there or follow us. We normally share around any previews that we might get or anything at all that happens. You can basically funnel us. Consider us your news. If you want to answer the Community Tuesdays question, you can go ahead and do it there. It's a lot of fun. It's fun little discussions, and that is where you can find us. For stuff and things, ladies and gentlemen. Simeon, read us out of here, my man.
Another thing about those cards, no. With that,
geez. Please don't make me.
The episode comes to an end, and as a reminder, Dial H for HeroClix is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, including all the latest HeroClix singles and sealed products. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Happy trails.
My stuff.